right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 247 with CincyBearcat and ShepBoiRD. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing excellent. 4th of July, ready to toss back some dogs and some cold beers.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah,
Also,
doing
just
great.
play RuneScape because I like staying inside.
We all do.
Yeah, you
We
guys
all
have
do.
a heat wave. It's
Oh,
nice
it's
here in
been
Hawaii.
so disgustingly hot. Yeah, Lisa and I went to the Nationals baseball game yesterday, and they did fireworks after, and we were just pouring in sweat after the game. I was dying for just water.
It's
But
been
it was a good time.
kind of balanced here in Eugene. We definitely had a heat wave, but it's kind of cooled off a little bit. I think today the high is only going to be 77, just absolutely flawless out. So so that was Cincy for those listening right now. ShepBoiRD, let's get I guess some voice and what's been going
good
on for you.
morning.
How's your week been? And happy 4th
Honestly,
of July.
Yeah, thank you. It's not been bad. I've been doing a lot of getting out of the military stuff. I've been streaming more lately, which has been nice. Too, because I don't have homework or anything I gotta do. Um, and yeah, I've been grinding Grandmaster, and I only have perfect Tob in top fives time, and so hopefully this Saturday,
Ooh,
fingers crossed.
So you
We'll
guys
see.
are you guys are both in the military. You guys are both military boys. And Cincy, I've met you in person. Shep, I have not met you in person.
I was gonna say this
Yeah,
actually
not
isn't
yet.
the first time I've been on the cast because we did the live cast in
Yeah,
Orlando. That was a fun
yeah,
time.
yeah. So this is technically your second appearance. Yeah, no. So Cincy, it was obviously you're a great person. We got to meet. Really, I think was it Orlando we first met, or were you at TwitchCon?
Yeah, no, that was the first time, first streamer event that I had been to was the Based Orlando trip last year.
That was so
And I've
much
been
fun,
doing
man.
just a bunch of stuff before that. I wanted to go to that TwitchCon before that, but that was right when I was getting back from being deployed in Iraq, so I had a bunch of other stuff going on. I was really sad because there was so many people at that TwitchCon. I feel like RuneFest was a little bit of that vibe, and I think it's going to start transferring to a lot more people going to RuneFest. Because really, I think there's quite a few people going to TwitchCon this year, just kind of like as a social event, and nobody was really going there for the con. But I feel like RuneFest, and Shep can attest to this, you're there for the social aspect, but also the convention was just so well done. The events and all of the live stream stuff that they usually do during the summit, seeing that live was just such a crazy and fun experience that I think a lot of people that didn't go have some FOMO, and everybody that did go is not going to miss it for the world for the next time.
Oh yeah, the RuneFest was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was my first ever big con. I didn't mean to cut you off, Sater, by the way.
No.
Sorry.
I was kind of waiting to see what your thoughts were on it. I wonder though, future RuneFest. You guys think those are gonna? Because it feels like RuneFests were always kind of in September-ish, and then of course that one kind of got canceled because of the what was that thing called? Was it Insomnia? Am I thinking the right word? What was the?
Yeah, I think Insomnia was the gaming festival,
Okay.
the convention,
Yeah.
and you could see the convention where the convention center was. You could see the spaces that they were going to do Insomnia in, and it was just so much larger. I think they're going to continue to just do it as its own independent event moving forward.
Because
I know everybody's hopeful for the US RuneFest.
I doubt it. I
But
doubt it.
talking
I-
to some of the J mods while we were there, the next one is they want to get back on the fall cycle, so there
Okay.
isn't likely going to, unless something has changed since then, there isn't likely going to be one this fall.
Obviously,
They're
yeah,
going
there's
to
no
push
way.
it off till fall of 26. And they said they know they would get a huge turnout for a US one, but just the logistics of getting all of the J mods over there, the travel expenses of everything, and then they would have to contract out all the logistics for running the event is just such a financial burden, which is kind of disappointing. But
hopefully game continues to grow like it has been. Maybe it gets big enough to the point where they do like how they do TwitchCon of a UK RuneFest and then other side of the year is a US RuneFest. That would be pretty sick.
And the thing is we don't really need an official RuneFest in the US. The fact that we've had events such as like TwitchCon 2023 when, I mean, seriously, based set up an Airbnb that had over 100 creators there. I mean, creators / viewers / people in the OSR scene. Like, that's wild for one night to basically unofficially have an entire event where you're meeting everybody from all across the world there. I mean, majority US based, but like that alone like gives me hope that like we can just set up US events, like, so it's much more convenient for the like the American audience, or audience, what am I saying, the American, like, you know, RuneScapers and creators and everything to come out. And then RuneFest, honestly, like I still have not flown across the Atlantic, so I am crossing my fingers that next year will be my year
That
to
flight was
finally
so
go.
long.
Oh my
For
god, I
me,
bet.
it was so long. Yeah, so going to RuneFest this year, I flew to DC, met up with Cincy Elisa, Hamzy Gant, and RuneScape name is Teenagers. Just because I've said his name so many times and like got clipped out of context. But yeah, met up.
Yeah.
Talking to
so-
teenagers on the plane.
It's,
That's
yeah,
insane.
like
Yeah.
man, we
Anybody
just
that's
for-
been in Bodie's live stream, they know who that guy is, because I swear, like way back in the day, you'd see that name all the time. Or like It's Will's stream, I feel like he was always there.
He's-
So
he's
yeah,
definitely around a lot.
he is not
and
talking to
I'm-
teenagers. That's
Yeah.
the dude's name.
teenagers
3-year-old
RS.
man.
RSN Teenagers. Yeah, super nice guy though.
Your
But,
your FBI
I'm trying
agent's
to
listening
lead
to
the
this right now.
campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to lead the campaign to get him to rebrand. But
Oh my God,
he told me
trying
the
so
story
hard.
of it. The story of it comes from like the My Chemical Romance song "Teenagers." So like he's just a big My Chemical Romance fan. So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, no, we
Rebrand might
met up-
be
yeah.
essential. Since what were you saying, Shep?
Yeah.
I cut you off. Yeah.
Oh no, it's all good. Yeah, met up with him. Which even for me from Hawaii, I went from Honolulu to LA and then landed in DC. I think that all in all was like 7 hours. Stayed in DC for I think it was like 1 or 2 nights. Or it might have just been one night, and then we flew
I
out
think it
the
was
next
2 nights
night.
because we did Korean barbecue with like a bunch of people, and that was an absolute blast. And I mean, even to your point, Sater, just doing like small little meetups with people is like
Yeah,
a lot
like,
of fun. We've got
it's-
a little group of people that are going just on a Cedar Point trip later this summer that are all like RuneScape people,
Hell
just
yeah.
to go chill and hang
Runes,
out.
I can't like emphasize enough to people like it's so much fun to like go out and like I wouldn't say I'm like extroverted, but like I would definitely say I'm like an extroverted introvert, because like when I'm home I'm like I want to sit inside, play RuneScape and everything. But like going out to all these events and stuff, it's always like really really cool to like meet everybody. But yeah, the next day we went to RuneFest. I was super fucked up. I had a 10-hour time difference, and then you know, everybody definitely did not consume copious amounts of alcoholic beverages, and I was not staying up until 6 a.m.
Well,
drunk as
I mean,
shit.
Hamzy was involved, so
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
no.
Yeah, so I was only at the convention for it was like 4 or 5 hours total. But even still, I had so much fun like hanging out with everybody. And I hope like because I'm moving to Texas like in about a month, hopefully if everything works out. But yeah, hopefully being on a little bit less of a time difference, it'll be okay. But yeah, meeting everybody is so much fun. Because like
definitely recommend meeting your RuneScape friends.
yeah, like I didn't, because again, like 10-hour time difference, I don't get to like hang out in a lot of like the European side of like the RuneScape communities, like streams and everything. So I'm like not super familiar with a lot of people. But getting like I knew of a bunch of people, but I didn't really like feel like I know them on the same level as I do like a lot of the US side of the RuneScape community, but getting to like meet everybody is so cool, and there were so many people that like I didn't realize I would like kind of like fuck with as hard as I do, or like like people that like we just pretty well like click together pretty well, and I'm really glad that I went to RuneFest, and so if anyone's like listening and like on the fence about going, like 100%, if you've got the money and it's not gonna put you out, you should go, like 100%.
It's just so cool because so many of us, like, if you're a dedicated RuneScape player, like us three, we're just, we're obsessed with RuneScape. It's great. I mean, you guys are both streamers. It's just, we're in the thick of it. And so I think when you go to a meetup like that, there's just this commonality of like, we're gonna get along because we all know this. Well, it's basically like a cult. It's like a mini cult. Like, we're in like the RuneScape scene. And so like, there's just this like understanding. You just see each other and you're like, yeah, we're RuneScapers. Like, this is great. And so it's so easy to get to know people.
Yeah, we have such a tight knit community as well, though, and so many people. It's such an interesting experience meeting people from RuneScape for the first time, but then you're just like, oh, you are the exact same person how I know you on stream or like hanging out in VC as you are in person. It's just it feels like an old friend almost when you haven't seen like a really old best friend from like 5 years or something, and it feels like maybe a month at the longest has passed since you've talked to them. I would say that's how I describe meeting people from like RuneScape and stuff. It's very akin to that feeling, but the community is just so fantastic, and everybody is so embracing of each other. I know Shep and I, like, speaking about streaming a little bit, I know Shep and I both do at least one or two charity streams a year, and I know they are far and away my favorite. I know Shep has said that there's some of his
I
favorite
was gonna
streams
say the
as
same
well.
thing. Yeah.
But I think just how much the community supports each other and shows support for aspects like that, it just goes to show how good quality of like a non-toxic, for the most part, community that we have, and just everybody is willing to embrace each other. That everybody is always willing to show up and do stuff like that. Or if people are hosting community events, I know S2L is doing like the most TOBs in a week right now, and just the amount of support that I've seen him get, and just everybody wanting to be a part of that and like share that experience with him is just, I feel like it's a very unique gaming community, and very like, we're speaking from within it, but I feel like we really do have one of the greatest gaming communities for that aspect.
And so for people that maybe still think, oh, like OSRS is a toxic community or has that, it's like, go to a meetup, any sort of meetup with that, and you will see, like, you'll be actually shocked at how like wholesome everybody is and how understanding and welcoming everybody is as well. It's amazing.
And I remember for the longest time there was the presumption of like PvP streamers versus PVM streamers. And it just hearing the stories about like that first TwitchCon where a bunch of people showed up and everybody kind of just got along and vibed with each other. And at the end of the day, it really is just a game. I feel like we're all adults that play this game. I'm always shocked to find out when somebody is like
less
19
than like
or
26
getting into the game. I'm like, how did you get here? But I feel
Yeah.
like for the most part, everybody has that level of maturity. That's like even when you think there's going to be beef, it's like, no, we're just all
it's
all
never
chilling
like
at
that.
the end of the day.
Yeah. And how old are you guys?
So actually, in 3 days, I'm gonna be 29. My birthday's on the
shit.
7th, so that's pretty
I
cool.
Happy early birthday.
achieved
Thank
punk
you.
status this year. I am officially 30. My life has started to end. I've accepted it fully, you know.
It already has
With
ended.
the-
What are you talking about? It's not
with the
starting
amount
yet.
of
It's over.
Yeah, with the amount of toxins I probably inhaled when I was in the Middle East, and how much
energy drinks I put into my body a day. You know, it's only a matter of time. You know, gotta.
Time spent around fireplaces.
I know Shep's going for a GM right now. I've only got 94 tasks left. You know, I'll get GM, and then we can just call it a wrap from there. It'll be
Yeah,
good.
we can retire.
Well, it'll just retire.
Yeah, before you get buried underground, you got to get that GM. I also turned 30 last month, so it's an interesting.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. It's an interesting
happy
feeling,
belated.
like genuinely. I mean, I started playing OSR, or not OSR. I started playing RuneScape when I was 9 years old, and to think if I would have told myself, or if I would have just seen like, hey, you're going to still be playing this game, and actually more than you'll probably ever play as a child. When you're 30, like that would come as a total shock, and I'd almost be like upset, like back then. I'm like, really? Oh fuck.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed. I'd be like, I'm not a doctor. Like, what the fuck? Like,
No. But like, I don't know. I never had like crazy aspirations. I don't think my parents ever set like crazy expectations on me. But it is funny just to think, because I feel like there always was, and it was almost just the pressure of society and people I was with that was like, yeah, you grow out of gaming. You know, you grow out of it. Like just grow up. And I mean, to be fair, I kind of did have a couple phases where I felt like I was grown out of it.
having like those kinds of, I guess, like mental breaks is like the best way to put it, where it's like, hey, I'm not doing something for I guess like my own personal like development or growth in a professional setting, and like, oh, I'm not like, I'm intentionally taking time to like get away from like being so serious with my life and like doing something I want to enjoy. The more I value that, I guess, like the older I get.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know. I think for me, like gaming's always gonna be that. I do like going to the gym and everything too, but I feel like that's still kind of like a, hey, I'm trying to get better and get stronger and et cetera, et cetera. Because I used to be a competitive powerlifter, like, and I miss it, but I tore my rotator cuff, and so that's like
Oh shit.
a whole thing. Yeah, I was a 85 or not 85, 80 and a half kilo powerlifter, so 100 is like 182 or 181 pounds. For the USAPL, I had it was a 207 and a half pound squat, kilos. This is it's like 451.
Brother, it's the 4th of July. You
Yeah,
need
actually,
to be
wait,
using
you're
pounds.
right.
What are we doing?
Yeah. What's
It was
going on here?
okay, 180 pound powerlifter.
Do the conversion.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. That's on me. Yeah. So, it was a 450 pound squat, a 308 pound bench, and a 540 pound deadlift.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, and I thought, I was like, dude, I'm gonna see how far I can take this. I'm gonna go to nationals and stuff. And then I remember like just over time, like I was like benching and squatting is like when I had like the most problems with it, and I was like, wow, my shoulder hurts like a lot after this. And I was like, maybe it's some
Injury in the
flexibility
gym,
thing.
It
Yeah.
really does feel like losing the hardcore.
Yeah,
Not
no.
that I've ever lost a hardcore, but that's like what I would compare it to. Is like you are essentially just on a complete rebuild. Like the
Yeah.
amount of time that you have to take off from lifting and stuff like that. Because I hurt my shoulder as well, and I just have not been able to get back to that level of performance or like that level of
Yeah.
fitness.
And like, I don't think I'll ever compete again. I mean, lifting is still like a big part of my life and everything. But yeah, it's funny because like, so a little bit of backstory, I guess. Like growing up, I was always like, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor, and like I'm gonna go to med school. I'm gonna go do this. And then my mom, before I joined the military, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to pharmacy school. And my mom convinced me of that. And so I was in school for it as a pre-pharmacy major. And then eventually I was just like, I just don't want to do school right now. Like I was kind of burnt from doing school, and like I was helping support my mom because she was really sick, and so I was like, well, I need money and I don't want to live in Kansas anymore. So joined the military and everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But now after that injury, I started going through like physical therapy, and I fortunately like I had some really good physical therapists, and like the more I talked to them about it, because like I'm pretty much at the like midpoint of my military career, so it's like I was like, okay, I got to figure out if I want to do this for the next, it's like 11 and a half years, or do I want to do something different? And I'm not married anymore and don't have kids, so I'm like, I'm gonna try and like do something that I want to do. And I'd always been like wanting to go into the medical realm and everything, and talking to the physical therapist, like, and having like such a strong like I guess like fitness background. Like I used to be a personal trainer too, like before streaming as like a side thing. Um and then now I'm just like, dude, like let's put it all together and just try and be a physical therapist. And so that's the goal in my personal life, I guess.
Hell yeah. I'm curious when it comes to like powerlifting and stuff, if because to be fair, I mean, this is not an uncommon story to hear people really pushing the limits of their body and then having either a catastrophic or even just minor injuries that have built up over time, where it's really it's almost like lack of confidence to even get back into it because of like the potential, injuries that could happen. But it's really sad to see when people are out of the gym for, years sometimes, or, even 6 months to a year, just in that recovery phase, and they feel like they've lost so much progress and it's kind of demotivating, and then getting back into it, they have to go slow. So I just wonder, if you could go back in time before you, like you said, you tore your rotator cuff, is that right? Yeah. So do you feel like you would have done things differently? Because I do feel like when you're younger, there is more ego to it. I'm not claiming you were ego lifting or anything.
Oh no, there's definitely ego to it.
If you are powerlifting, I feel like you do have to push yourself to like that next like echelon, to keep pushing yourself further. But I do wonder, because like when you start getting older, you start recognizing like how fucking debilitating injuries are, and like how it like genuinely diminishes your quality of life, like to a pretty high extent. And the older you get, the worse it gets. So do you have any advice? And also, like, would you have done things differently had you, or would you still have gone it the same way and it was just an unlucky accident?
A little bit of it is unlucky, because like I was relatively safe, I guess. The biggest thing for me is like I wish I put more time into warm-ups and mobility. Like those are like two of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And then
Same.
there's a lot of like I guess like joint strengthening exercises that you can do, because
I'll compare it to Red Light. I feel like there's so many crossovers. You get so many people that are into fitness and stuff in the RuneScape section, and I think it's because there are so many mindset crossovers there. But I'll compare it to a hardcore again. Is like, if you ask a hardcore, like, after they died, like, what would you have done differently? They would probably either there was nothing that they could do about it, just unlucky, or it's, oh, I could have prepared for this on a main more, or done XYZ thing. I would definitely have been more careful, because that's how I hurt my shoulder. Is I definitely overtrained while I was deployed. Like that, we were stuck to 6 square miles in the desert in Iraq. All there was to do was eat, work, sleep, and work out. So I was powerlifting 2 times a day. I 100% overtrained, and then 2-3 months after I got home, like I just had it. I could feel it starting to nag at me, and then one day it just kind of popped.
Fuck.
So I was like, oh, I should have definitely taken it easier. But yeah.
For me too, like sleep
a lot of
is
mindset
like
stuff though that does cross over from RuneScape. It's kind of weird.
Good nutrition and sleep does so much for your recovery too, and that's something that like I, as an avid RuneScape player too, like was not putting as much like time and effort, especially early on, with my sleep. And people
the
so
bingo
underrate
was
it.
so bad. I feel like so many people
I mean, we could talk about the base bingo a little bit.
Yeah, the
I think
bingo
that'd be
too.
a fun topic.
Yeah, why didn't
Transition
you
to
do the base bingo?
Let's
What the hell,
Say that
Sadie?
it would have been really
listen.
fun.
I had really bad experiences with any sort of RuneScape bingo. I think it was maybe 5 years ago or something was the last bingo I ever participated in. It was just a clan bingo, and I spent I think I did like 600 kills of sire during that bingo, and I didn't even get one unsired.
Oh no.
And that was like
how it
part
goes.
that was part
Sometimes.
of the one of my worst dry streaks ever in this game, which is I went 870 like 4 dry of an unsired, and so it's like 600 of those kills were during that bingo, and I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like I literally like I hate this. And like from that point on, I just resented the idea of bingo. Like everybody loves bingo, and
Yeah.
I'm just over here like I hate this. Like
Because that part feels bad. Because you're not only
Yeah.
it's not only like a feels bad man of you are personally dry. That was Serb for me.
I was
this
about to
last
say that was
bingo.
Serb
I
for
was
Cincy.
I was about 300-ish KC going into the bingo since my last Serb crystal, and it ended up being around 740 something in between Serb crystals, and I was just feels bad. And of course, the first crystal I get is a Pegasian. Like
rip.
at
Those
that
things are
point,
going
and
up in
then I
price a
still
little bit though. I think because of the
they
Delphos.
were, at least made a little bit of money. But
Yeah.
I think two things that's one thing that turns people off to bingos. I think the other thing is like a little bit of bingo drama, which both of those things, I mean, going dry, you can't really counteract
yeah.
that. It's like, all right, if you start going dry somewhere, I think the answer in a bingo where you have a lot of stuff to do is just go do something else. But as far as the drama, I think honestly, I cannot give Shep enough of his flowers for the amount of back end work that he did for this last base bingo, and it was such a success. You could tell so many people from the community had a lot of FOMO for the bingo after it started. There was just so many people in my stream, other people's streams that were like, "Man, I really wish I would have signed up." You can tell everybody was having fun. Like for the most part, everybody just made a lot of new friends. I know Shep and I both we were on the same team.
Yeah,
Shep
we were
was
the same team.
Shep
Yeah.
was I was a captain, Shep was my first round pick, gotta get my boy.
Yeah.
But we just had a lot of good, fun people on our team, and it seems like that was a synonymous experience with a lot of the other teams. I think it's only going to be a even more successful event in the future. But I'm a big fan of bingos. I've done a bunch of homie hunts before, and that's always been an absolute blast. It's really going back to the social part of it. I've found it's one of the best way to meet people that you otherwise would have never really interacted with or had minimal interaction with during like Twitch chats and stuff like that. It's a great way to branch out and make new friends in the community.
Yeah.
But I definitely see why it is not everybody's cup of tea, because that was kind of
Oh,
Brett
yeah.
Dog for our last homie hunt that we did. Similar experience to you, Sater. He did a bunch. I want to say he did something like 500 or 600 sire just for one unsired, and it ended up being a dupe for something that our team had already gotten. And it was just like, it feels bad.
That's rough. Yeah.
But yeah,
yeah,
bingo
it was
really well,
Oh,
especially
sorry.
for a first bingo. There were some other people from other clans that were like event coordinators and stuff, and they were surprised with how smoothly for how large of an event it was that we did. So I think
Yeah,
that's
like
all accounted to Shep and myself and some others doing a lot of the back end work beforehand, like making sure it'd be a successful event. But Shep definitely led the way on that.
yeah, we had because we started, I guess, like the major planning. It was like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks before. I think, right, Cincy? Or like, was it?
Initially, we started planning initially for like 2 months ahead.
Yeah.
And then the
There's
initial dates that we were planning for it were like that it was the next week
There's
after
Yama
starting to
release,
plan it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's when they released the Yama release, and we're like, all right, everybody is gonna quit on Wednesday for this bingo because everybody wanted to do Yama release as they should.
Yeah.
I'm glad we switched that because Yama release was very fun. I have very much enjoyed Yama. Actually, Sater, I would like to get your thoughts.
The thing is,
on
I've only
Yama.
done 9KC. I spent one evening a couple months ago just doing some duos. And I just, because I wasn't fully locked in with the gear check and everything. So I've been taking my dear sweet time on this account, just kind of building up the foundation more and more and more. I also have to get my Infernal Cape back, which I gambled my Infernal Cape June 6th on my birthday as like a forfeit for like the subathon thing I was doing. And I had 2 Zuck tasks since then, and I died on both of them. And I have not gotten a third. And it's just, I'm on like the craziest dry streak now.
I
Of
was
just getting
actually
that third
in
Zuck.
VC with Oob and some other people when you were getting that first cape, and that was just
Yeah, I was gonna
that
say, I
that, that
remember the
first cape
first
that you
one.
got was an absolute cinema moment for
Fuck yeah.
a
Fuck yeah.
first cape on an account. The whole time I was just, I'll be honest, I was like, what the hell is this setup? I was like, I cannot believe that he is braving. I was like, man, just please go get better gear. But you were doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
I could not ever. And shout out Why Juicy just getting his first cape. He was giving
Hell
me
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
He was giving me shit because he's like, you went and did your first cape in max gear. Like, you can't tell me that, like, it's you just gotta keep doing it because you had way better gear. So I went and did the budget setup CA off task in his exact gear and got it in like, I want to say like a week of attempts, but it wasn't like sending a bunch of attempts. I was like, see, man, I'm dumb as shit and I got it. You definitely can do it.
It's fucking brutal though, because it changes how you solve the Inferno. I mean, I want to kind of get into your guys' experience with PVM in general. It sounds like you guys are both trying to go for that Zuck Helm. Shep, sounds like you're really fucking close.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
really
think
close.
kind of Shep and I have kind of
Yeah, go for it.
followed like a similar
Yeah, similar
path.
path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started streaming like about 2 months after. Shep was already quite a bit better at the game, but streaming definitely
Still better, by the way.
forced
I'm just
me.
kidding.
Yeah, okay, buddy. All right, just because
Sorry.
you're 92 tasks ahead of me doesn't mean nothing. No, I feel like I've just kind of been following in that same path, but streaming has definitely inspired me to get better at the game. And I mean, that's kind of the reasoning for me doing something like doing budget setup off task and Juicy's gear is like, even this time last year, I didn't have a quiver, didn't have an infernal cape, didn't have Blorva, didn't have like much skill at the game. I was just getting into Tob and like doing CG like this time last year. Um,
Yeah,
so I think that's a lot of my mindset on PVM is I considered myself very bad at the game and then just kind of kept smacking my face against the wall and wanting to get better and having like I try to instill that belief in any of my viewers or just like any of my friends that it's like, yeah, you might not be able to do this right now, but you can, if you want it, you can go get it. Like, this is a rhythm game
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Like, you can go do anything. And that's really pushed me. I never thought I could get a quiver or Infernal Cape. And now my mindset on PVM is just like, okay, what can I do? Like, I wanted to find my ceiling as far as PVM goes. I want to find out how good I can get at the game. I feel like everybody has a finite cap. Like, there's no way. Yeah, I watch people like Porkazard or people like that do just insane stuff, and it's like, okay, I know I could never get to that level, but I could definitely get to the level of getting GM and like being able to solo top or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the same mindset I have. Like, I got my first ever Infernal Cape. It was not too long after I moved here, so a little bit less than 3 years ago. And then I didn't really start taking GM like, I guess, as serious as I am now until really like the beginning of this year. Because I'd kind of been like, while doing bosses on a Slayer grind or something, I'd be like, yeah, like, let's knock out all the CAs here. And then as I got closer and like as I made more friends who were substantially better than me. That's kind of what like motivated me to be like, you know what, let's like buckle down and do it. And something I genuinely believe is anybody can do anything in the game. Like 100%. It's just a matter of like how much time are you willing to put into it to like get better at the piece of content to be able to do it. Because like that was something I remember like when I went for my first cave, like I used to look at a infernal cave and be like, oh my god, they're so good at the game. Or like even like just people who did Tob, I was like, dude, they're so good at the game. Like that's like the crazy good like people in the game. But you know, eventually, like now I think between regular Tob and hard mode Tob, I'm just under 1400, I think, somewhere around there. I'm not a speedrunner by any means, but like I have some decent times. I learned a lot of the higher level tech, and it's just because like I went in and I put in time. I had people that, or I was fortunate enough that I had people that were way better at the game than me that were like, dude, you should consider like doing this. And I was like, yeah, I'll start doing that. And then just now, I guess, if you were to take a snapshot of how I played the game, I guess like 2 or 3 years ago versus now, like there's a huge difference. But it just takes time and a little bit of effort and want to like get better at the game. And then like I'll see people this is a personal pet peeve of mine, but like when people talk about like ping, for example, like I've done so many difficult combat achievements on East Coast ping, which for me, like I have very inconsistent bounces between 100 and I think on the low end it's like 120-ish, and then on the high end it'll be like 180. And sometimes it'll be like
I'll
yeah.
self-report as a ping baby because I just glanced over at what my ping is. I think we're really close to a massive server farm because I'm in DC, so I think we're close to a really massive like server farm, and then I have gigabit internet. I on East Coast worlds I always have single digit ping. So then anytime I'm on ping, I think
I
ping
wonder what
is
that's
also,
like.
I think it's also like a relevancy thing of what are you used to? Like if you're used to being on that ping, like you're used to the reaction times and stuff. Because I know Shep and I have like some Aussie friends that are really good at the game that we play with.
Yeah.
And they're just used to the anticipation
The
of that
180
ping.
ping, 200 ping,
Yeah. That it really is what you're used to. Because I even notice it when I go to West Coast Worlds and I'm on like 60, 70 ping. I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of stickiness in the game because I'm used to just instantaneous reactions to stuff. So I'm definitely hyper aware of like any delays in the game to the point of like I can imagine like 150 ping.
You can get used to it for sure, but I mean, I play roughly around like 30 to 40 ping. That's usually like
where I'm at.
Nice. And it's like, I mean, the thing is, like, even if you were to get used to it, if you were in Australia or something, and you're just trying to get used to this fucking 180 or 200 ping or something, it's like you can get as good as you can at anticipating stuff, but you're always going to be at a severe disadvantage where, like, yeah, you could try to get used to it as long as the world's consistent enough. But like, goddamn, like I mean, when I'm watching, like, I always think of the name AddyCon. He hasn't streamed in a long time. He's been taking a indefinite break from streaming and all. But when I used to watch his stream, it genuinely felt like he could. It's like the last fucking millisecond. It seems like he could like click an enemy and it would still swipe on that very next tick. It was just crazy how, like, for me, even on like 30 or 40 ping, it still feels like if I don't click the enemy quick enough, even if it is technically to my eye on the tick prior, it's like it just doesn't register. And so if you're living right next to like a server hub, basically just like right there where it's like single digit all the time, like, you can get so much better at the game. I've always even thought, even though this game is only so fucking good because it's an MMO, I've always thought how cool it would be to have an offline OSRS where there is no server lag. It is pure, just perfect consistency,
can,
zero
like, LAN
ping.
party
like there is no ping. Like it's an offline game, so it's genuinely like you have absolute perfection when it comes to everything. Like that would be such an interesting game to play where there's absolutely no lag whatsoever.
Yeah, I will say, for me, like as cool as like it would be, I think it would genuinely, because like a lot of the content I do is like group content, and I like the community aspect of it, of like I can run around and like occasionally see people. I know there's some people, like some of my like really close friends, they'll run around with like, public off, private off, like everything off, entity hider, hide all, like but like
And then
for
their like
me,
screen is like blacked out where like even the ground is like black
yeah,
and stuff, and you just see the circus of tiles. Yeah.
yeah, like for me,
There are
I'm
some
like,
people's clients that I look at and I'm
oh
just
yeah,
like,
It's
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 like the
like how do
depressing.
you
one.
play on it?
No,
Yeah.
it's like the one meme of like the girl with the cartoon girl with the really messy room, and it's just like, damn, bitch, you live like this. Like there are some people's clients I see, I'm just like, how are you not so distracted? And I have ADHD, so it's like maybe a
It's
little bit
exactly that. No,
different
it's
of a
Yeah.
mindset of it, of just like, how are you not hyper distracted? Like I try to keep my client as minimalistic as possible. I'm a very visual person at the end of the day, though. So, like, my true tile is a color changing tick counter because that's just what
What
makes sense
works?
to me. Like the rhythmic portion of the game of like I cannot, even though I'm a very musically inclined person, for some reason I just cannot mentally count ticks. But if I see physical colors of changing of counting ticks, I it just clicks in my brain that way,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
a lot easier. And when I'm trying to help teach people content now, because I feel like Shep and I are both in that same way. Like that's the other thing with getting better. I feel like there's a lot of people that are good at this game that are so willing to teach people. There have been so many people that have wanted to help me get better at the game, and I know Shep's had that same
Yeah.
experience. That I'm like, okay, are you more of like a visual learner kind of person? Because like maybe try this out. And it legitimately, during the bingo, we had somebody who had 9 KC at Tob and perfectly learned how to do P2 Tob, because I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna set you up with this color scheme because like I can tell you're like also a very visual person. They're like, oh, this makes perfect sense, and they were flawless at P2 Verzik by like 13 KC, and I was like, okay, yep, nope, that worked perfect.
Yeah, and that's something like for me personally, like I remember my first raid I ever got to was Chambers. Because this was way before like TOA really. This was like COVID era. Um, but yeah, and I camped Chambers for a long time, and then I remember like meeting people and like always wanting to teach them. Uh, like just because like I don't know, both my parents were teachers. I think there's that has something to do with it, but also like, dude,
I think it's the military thing as well. Like
yeah,
I'm definitely a
like
follow from the front kind of person. I think you get that, or like lead from the front kind of person, and
yeah, and
I feel
like
like that's just something the military instills in you as well.
for a long time, like Tob to me felt super like way out of reach, right? And then I was fortunate enough that eventually like I met people that were like willing to take me with 0 KC and very little knowledge uh to go into Tob, and then they taught me and like this and that. And so something that's like really big for me is if there's an opportunity to like teach people like content or like things that can get better or they can do better to get better, that's like really or that's like more of like where I want to lean and what I want to do. And I've had people
Yeah.
in like my I guess like RuneScape career, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to call it a career. My RuneScape journey, I'll say. Like one specific one that comes to mind is Churchy Boy. Like he like playing with him like has gotten me so much better at the game. Cause he's a max grandmaster. He's turbo good at the game.
I'm not gonna lie,
Super
Churchy halfway,
super nice guy.
yeah, halfway through doing Radiant, he's like, I don't think I'm good enough to do this content. And I was like, oh, I definitely can't do it. Like him saying,
being-
I can't do this. I'm like, oh
being
god, no.
being in calls with him while he was doing Radiant, this was before like pre-nerf Radiant. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like if Churchy's like struggling this much,
I
but then
do
they
kinda-
changed everything
yeah.
and tech came out, and now I'm like, it seems
Kind of more.
it seems doable.
Yeah. Kind of more going back to the note of Tob. And Sater, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this as well with Raids 4 coming out next year. A lot of people say that Tob is gate kept content, that if you don't have friends that are good at the game to teach you, or you're not like a streamer getting people to carry you, like there's a lot of times that people just won't take you in 416s. I want to hear your thought on like Tob being gate kept content, and with JMod saying that Raids 4 is going to be similar to Tob and that it's just a boss rush style raid. Are we going to have, do you think that's going to be an issue that Jagex will try to balance around? Because I'm not going to lie, when I first started raiding, my first raid was TOA, like on release. I was like just barely good enough at the game to do 150s, and that felt good. Like that's why I've always never had a negative mindset to TOA. Granted, I'm going for my solo 500 kit right now because I just could not be asked to learn to Red X Baba. I thought that was just some of the most cringe like stuff that was the most efficient way to do that, and that you essentially had to learn to do that. I was like, I refuse. But I thought TOA was a good design as far as like getting people into raiding, but it seems like this is more going to be the other end where it's you need to find good teammates. Do you think that they should or should not be balancing raids 4 around like gatekeeping, having other friends who are good at the game?
I think, I mean, well, one, we're playing in a different era because when Tob released, very few people really were running chambers consistently. People were just way newbier back then. You saw the release of Inferno, 99% of the community just fucking terrified of entering that place. Genuinely, like we've had a complete mentality shift. Like, yeah, there's still a lot of we're still intimidated by new pieces of content, a lot of us, but we are much more willing to jump into things because I think the more and more you do that, the more confidence you build up. Like, okay, this new piece of content's going to come out. It's going to be hard, but like everything I've done in the past, it gets easier. And I think Toa's release really helped players understand, like, okay, I can jump into raids and stuff. And so we've had some really healthy additions to the game that have gotten people out of their shells. So I think Raids 4, this is why it's important to have a Raids 4 act like a TOB. In my personal opinion, I mean, I could talk about Raids 4 all day about just the philosophy behind it, in my opinion, as a non-game dev. So this is all, take it with a grain of salt. But the way I see it is you have to have a design that, in my opinion, shouldn't even be scaled. It should be one set difficulty, one set scaling, one set stats of all the bosses, and then you can maybe have up to, in my opinion, again, this could be looked at, but I would like it if the raid was up to 6 people, for example. Just a clean number where you could have, it really will be, you need people on different styles, sort of, and so you can have 2 people on each style. But then you could just go in with 5 people or 4 people or 3 people or 2, all the way down to 1 technically, but it gets harder and harder and harder the fewer people you have. So the reason I like that is because then 6-man's genuinely become the easiest mode of it. I feel like when you're doing Tob, there's too many weird mechanics where like almost having more people, like bloat, it's like having more people, it's like it's a downside. And there's more crap spawning in Maiden if you have more
5-man hard mode Tob is just like,
it's one of my least favorite scales.
Yeah,
well, Shep on Twitter did 3-man the other day. I was like, man, 5-man hard mode Tob. No, but I definitely hate
it just gets like, I would want it to be so when you bring more people in, it's going to be an easier time. So people really, if you want to get the raid done in the easiest way possible, it's still going to be difficult, but it'll be the 6-man. And then you can make more and more money, like I guess the smaller the team size, just because you're probably going
Almost
to
like
be.
a reverse scaling of how TOA is, where if you were running like 8-man 500s, your purple chance is gonna be immaculately higher even after the rebalance. Which
Yeah.
props to the rebalances. I'm glad that they're doing rebalances the way that they did TOA, where they're recognizing this isn't perfect. We want to make it better. I think that's a very healthy mindset to take a look at different pieces of content in the game. But I do like that aspect of it. You're making it more difficult with less people,
But
but you're
it's
going to be
all about.
rewarded more for it. Like you're going to have a higher purple chance essentially
It's
with
it's
the harder scale.
It's just about making it so it is a consistent rate. It's like, this is just what the rate is. There's no scaling it. There's no anything that's like, this is going to be a really fucking difficult challenge that you're going to go in. There's going to be multiple boss fights. And you can make it as easy as you want by bringing in more people to help you out. And I think that is just the most simplistic way. And the cool thing about it as well is the scaling of it when it comes to rewards is much more appropriate. And on top of that, like I sort of failed to address this, but I do want it to be kind of like TOB style, where there is a little bit of that kind of gatekeepiness, because we're talking end game PVM rewards. If we go down the same route as TOA, where 90% of the community can just jump in, we're going to see the same shit, where these really incredible rewards are dropping to 10 mil and below, because everybody can do it. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you have to.
That's kind of how I feel about like the gatekeeping argument with Top. I'm like, all right, if you're getting gate kept, you either don't have the gear, or dude, this is I get a lot of people want to play this game solo, but going back to the conversation we had about community, we have a great community. If you can't find a community that like you enjoy and are part of, that you can get a top team together, then I'm sorry, kind of like a little bit of a skill issue on that point, like social skills skill issue. Like
No way he said that.
I
Oh my
hate to
God.
say it that way, but like even I get there's a lot of chronically online people, but getting people in the minimal interaction mindset like that, we have so many open-minded people in this community that like if you can't find a team, that's kind of a you issue. Either you need to get better gear, you need to get better overall at the game, or just like, dude, go involve yourself in a community. I promise it's gonna make your game experience better. Like
Join a
playing this
clan, the
game
base tub.
yeah, join the base tub. No way. No, but really, I mean, plug, but also, yeah, there are a ton of people that are really kind people and good at the game in the base tub, but also there's plenty of other communities out there. I think I've been part of 5 other clans out there, and I always have seen people willing to teach. They do learner events and stuff like that. If you really can't find a team to go do TOB, then you need to be doing something differently.
I think most of the
yeah.
time as well, when people are like, I can't find a team, really what it is they're not really saying the actual issue, which is just, I don't want to be around people. Like it's not even like I can't find a team. It's like, I don't want to do this. I want everything to be solo, which is fine. I mean, we can have that, but like the 98% of the game is soloable. You basically do everything alone. It's okay to have end game content be small teams. It's okay, I think.
That's yes.
I agree with that.
I mean, I get if you want to play the game solo, but this is an MMORPG, not
That's
an
exactly what I was gonna say.
MORPG. If you want a massive online roleplay game, fine, but
And the
it's
thing is,
multiplayer.
like, things are genuine. Listen, I was one of those players that like wanted to do things kind of solo. I did solo chambers. I did solo Toa for all my purples on Sae Bae. But man, it's so much more fun rolling up with the boys at Toa. It just is. It's a better time. Do things feel a little bit slower because you're waiting for people here and there? Yeah, but that just means just take a step back. Like that, this is projection on my part. This is me almost talking to myself a couple years ago. Like, fucking ease up. It's okay. Just enjoy your experience. Stop making everything so min-maxy. It's okay. Like you're gonna be fine. The game never ends.
solo accomplishments feel so good. That's why, I mean, I put off doing my 500 kit for the longest time because I was like, I don't want to be carried in this content. I have so many friends that are good at TOA that we probably could have sent 3 attempts and got it by now. But I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I kind of want the solo accomplishments. Solo accomplishments do feel really good, and I get that aspect of the game, but also there's this whole other aspect of the game of like the multiplayer aspect of it that is what makes this one of the best long lasting games, you know? So I
Yeah.
think it's a good balance. Like it is a good balance of like wanting to achieve stuff for yourself, but then also having fun with the homies. Because dude, people that don't like TOA have never experienced the fun of an absolute chaotic 8-man expert TOA. Like
When you're going for
the
the speed
absolute
time and somebody dies in the back,
when you're
not gonna
just
name any
being
names.
silly and having fun. Like that's the other thing is like not everything needs to be peak efficiency. Sometimes you just gotta do stuff to have fun.
Yep.
And 8-man chaotic TOAs are for sure fun.
Yeah, that's good content. I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty
It
good
really was. When
content.
we were doing that 8-man speed time, I was like, this is kind of cinema. I was like, because
Yeah,
one person starts making a mistake and it's just funny for everybody else involved, you know?
yeah, like, I think something I'm kind of circling back, but something that like I've come to realize, going like talking about Tob, is the skill floor is like it's not really all that high. Like if you're going just for completions and everything. Um, and I'm of the belief that like anybody can do literally anything in the game, just like, put time and effort into learning, and like eventually you'll get better at the content and you'll be able to do it. Um, but like I don't know if it was just because like I was a lot worse at the game and a lot newbier at the time. That like took me or that it took me so long to get into Tob, but uh and now like the more I do it, I'm like, wow, there's the skill ceiling is so high. Like watching like first one that comes to mind is like Flash. He's really good duo Tobber and everything, and like watching like them do a raid versus somebody that's like getting into uh just getting into Tob, like it's a world of difference. And I hope that's what they do with raids 4, where it's like it's not necessarily like that difficult to get completions. But like there is that level of like skill expression and everything. And I like the idea of like defined roles, because there's not a lot of areas in the game that I can think of where it's like, hey, you need to have somebody that's like maging, you need to have somebody that's ranging, you need to have
Yes.
meleeers, and like they all bring different gear for like those specific roles. And so that's kind of
Yeah, I think to
something
your
I think's
point,
great.
Seder, of it being like a 6-man raid with like actually dedicated. I know I've heard Chungus Cold One talking about this, that we don't have anything where it's like a truly defined this is your role. And I mean, this last week we've had a lot of WoW players. I never was big into WoW, would have loved it, but Mama Cincy did not ever like the idea of paying $15 for the WoW subscription, so I was never a big WoW guy. But I know they have defined roles in their raids. I would love to see the interesting dynamics that the devs could bring into having like specific tank roles or stuff like
There,
that.
there's
Bringing
a
into
I want to kind of just point out the fact that like OSRS, a lot of the skill expression is by gear switching a lot of the time. And so I
Yeah.
feel like maybe instead of, to be fair, like they could still introduce elements of this to a end game raid. But what I would love to see is more like mid game raids, like a mid game dungeon that almost has that forced role feel like Barbarian Assault has, where you're kind of forced into a certain role. You're choosing it beforehand. And it's more mid game because this is almost going to, it's not going to, it's almost like preventing you from expressing like full skill, because you're not actually even allowed to do melee if you've chosen the mage role, for example. But something more mid-game, something that's more chill, something that's not... Because if you were to introduce a role-based Raids 4, people would be so fucking upset by it. Like, the elite players that wanted something very difficult, when you're forcing them to stay one style, it's just going to be boring as fuck for them. So I think the much better and much healthier way to go about it is just mid-game.
Make it see, I don't agree with Raids 4 being mid-game. Like, I really, and people are gonna get upset about this. I am in a very like realistic camp. I love all the mid-game content. That I would love to start a new account, like do like a bronze man mode account, because I cannot be asked to go do my own farm runs. Leave me alone. I'm not doing that
Yeah,
Iron
no,
Man
I get
shit.
it.
Get that out of here. But I would love to, with how many mid-game updates they've catered into the game, I think that's such a healthy piece of it. I really do. But I think the next raid really should be hard endgame. It should 100% be hard
Yeah, and
endgame.
I agree.
And
My
that's
point
the
was
part I
just that
will...
you can't have the roles going with a Raids 4.
think-
Like, that
I think you
role-based thing is...
can, though. I think you can,
I
because
don't
it's
think
like...
you can. I don't think you, I think it'll be too simplistic. It basically guarantees that things get too simplistic if you really just have... And I'm talking about roles as in, like, style-based, where you're the range role, you're the mage role, you're the melee role. It's like you don't even have to bring in many things, because you're just, okay, I'm melee role, so I'm just going to sit here and just focus
I
on
would
prayers.
love
That's
to
more
see
mid-game
them...
content.
I would love to see them balance it in a way where it is still extremely complex for each role, and you have to become a master of each role. I think that would
Yeah.
be very fun. Like, because, I mean, Tom has that to an extent of, like, you learn to range, you learn to mage, you learn to melee roll, but to your point, you're still switching between gear, like, you're still bringing all your gear in.
Yeah.
I would love to see them create almost like a mastery of each role and just have true experts of doing each role, or like somebody become a jack of all trades and like, oh no, I can any role. And you look at that person and you're like, damn, you really know this raid. Like
Yeah.
every role in the raid really does become an entirely different look. And I mean,
And I think
I think they can do it, but also some of the complaints with Yama of like, man, they really tried doing too much with certain aspects of that. I could see that being a potential risk of it, of like, they cooked, but they definitely overcooked here. Like I could
yeah,
see that
like
being a potential gripe, but if they could do it right, I think that would be a very interesting way to go about it. But also, I do see the other side of it would be fun if everybody can just bring in the same mix of gear, and it comes down to how can you one tick a fucking 6-way, one tick an 8-way, like how good are you at the game? It's going to show your individual skill expression in that way as well. I think I think both sides would cater to that high level gaming community as a whole, which,
which
like, dude, the high level gaming community, but it's kind of cringe. I hate that Shep and I are both starting to become a part of that auto GM grind, but I try to be as neutralistic as possible, where I'm not like, oh man, all these shit mid game updates. Every time I see a mid game update and it's done well, I'm like, oh, this is so good for the game. This is fantastic. Because the people who are loud on Twitter, loud on Reddit, loud on comment sections, they are just the people who are chronically on this game and so much more invested. Where, like, when I get an IRL friend that's like, yo, you play RuneScape? They're like, oh, you play RuneScape. You got some hours into this game. Most of the general people that are coming to this game, or like coming back to this game, are mid-level. So catering to them in a sense of like giving them more stuff to do, it's going to keep them around the game longer, I believe. And it's also slowly push it. They're doing a lot of good updates that are slowly pushing mechanics into these mid-game bosses that are going to make them better at the game in the long run. I think that is healthy for the longevity of this game.
yeah, kind of going back to raids with like defined roles, like um sorry if we've like exhausted this topic or anything, but like
I think it's a good topic to talk about. Like it's
a really good
it's a
topic.
fun topic. Like it's Raids 4 is
Something
gonna be sick. Hopefully.
something I think is so. I guess like what I mean by defined roles is not like you're camping one style like the whole raid, because that would be pretty fucking boring. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I think one of the beauties with Tob, I'm a big Tob glazer, by the way. I guess I should have said that in the beginning, but
The best
um,
raid, so
yeah,
fair.
like Maiden, you have like your majors freezing and everything. And really the only other room where like I guess you have like that defined role where everybody isn't just like meleeing boss until it dies, is Nilo's. And Nilo's is one of my favorite pieces of content in the video game. Just because there's so much consistency with like the waves coming in, and then like there's the little bit of I guess like um skill expression flair with like the splits and everything, and like the better the waves, the better you hit your pre-fires, etc, etc, etc. And I think that is a good balance of like, hey, you have your defined roles, but then like you still have um or I guess like you are camping melee, right? But like there are things you can do to kind of express skill a little bit more, like even with just like one style. Other than like Soat is just kind of like flick your prayers and
I
run the
actually
maze
have
fast. Like,
which quick shout out because I think he is a very wholesome individual and he has deserved all of the come up that he's gotten. But I have Wavy's stream tabbed up in there in Nilo's right now, and Nilo's is, besides Verzik, probably one of my favorite rooms to watch other people do in Tob. Like exactly what you were saying, Shep, is when I say I want to get better at Tob of like stuff I need to learn better. I know I need to learn to pog tank. I know you've sent me the graphs 1,000 times. I'll learn to do it. It's on the to-do list. We got spring cleaning to do, but Nilo's is, I think, the other room where if you have people who are good at Nilo's, it can become one of the most solved rooms in the raid. And it's fun to watch people who are good at Nilo's just break down that room and immediately know where they're going next, know exactly the solves when they're on a specific role, they're still helping out, and they know the exact points when they should be helping out with other roles. It looks clean. It's such like a work of art watching a well solved Nilo room.
yeah, and I'll say on the other hand, because I am a big Chambers enjoyer too, but that raid is so much better solo, and it's mostly just due to Ulm, in my opinion. Like it's still fun to like do with friends, but at least I find my like personal like just I guess looking at like just the game, um
I know you
I
guys are
find
both
solo
big.
Ulm so much
Yeah.
so
I know
much
you guys
better
are
than
both
group Ulm.
big, like Cox enjoyers. Every part of that raid except for Ulm, I just do not like. I'm like, this is mostly a boring raid, but the Ulm fight is one of the best. I still need. It's also on the to-do list is learn some solo CMs, but I really like what they did with the CM setup with the normals. I think that's again going back to the catering to making a gradual skill progression in the game of adding stuff like that. I don't, again, going back to Tob and maybe even like a raids for aspect, I don't think they should do something like that with Tob. I think entry mode is good for teaching yourself stuff like pog tanking or like meleeing Zarp or P2 Verzik. I think that's what entry mode is good for, like those complexities of it, but I do think that Tob to a point should be like you need to learn how to do this in actual Tob with people that are teaching you.
Yeah, it feels like Chambers. I mean, you're right. When Ulm is really just the best part of it, it feels like we just kind of accept. I mean, they've made great changes over the years to Chambers to make the rooms feel less like clunky and things. But there still is a lot of clunkiness that if they were to drop Chambers as it is right now today, there'd be a lot more gripes. We've just all kind of accepted it because it was the first raid. We kind of accepted how clunky
with
and just
the
annoying it was.
gripes that people have with TOA puzzles, pitching Chambers as the puzzle rooms
that'd
that
been
they
bad.
have,
yeah.
people would be like, "What the fuck is this? What is how is Ice Demon a puzzle, man? Like you chop a tree and then you still just kill a demon. Like
Yeah. Or
bad.
mystics. Yeah, a lot of my friends have issues with mystics, and I'm just like,
I don't
you kind of
I
just
don't
click
like
things.
the description. I think you release that with the description of these are the demi rooms instead of puzzle rooms. That takes a lot of the gripe out of it. But now that we've seen, I don't think they'll ever do puzzle rooms again. I think they did a great job with these last TOA updates, making puzzle rooms less cringe, but they're still kind of like eh.
Mhm.
I actually think the monkey puzzle room, while it's faster, is more annoying now, but that might be just because I don't know the rotations yet. But dude, if you would release crabs or thieving as like a puzzle room, people would be like, "Let me just kill the boss, man." Like,
Yeah.
what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
It
Like,
just
you
slows
still,
everything down.
yeah,
Yeah,
you still do those now because it's like, oh yeah, these are quick, like efficient rooms to do, but pitching that as part of a
like
raid now,
nowadays,
people would
yeah.
be like, guys, what are we even cooking here? We're not cooking food, we're cooking crack with this. Like it's not good.
And like to give Jagex credit, like, and I mean, I am a big like Jagex glazer and everything. I do think like overall, like the J mods specifically have, I guess like the game's best direction, in mind, and they are like genuinely like really good like stewards of the game. And there are things that like I guess I disagree with, like, and everything, but I think they did a pretty good job with all of that kind of in consideration. Would I love to see like Chambers like overhaul to like kind of modernize it? Yeah, absolutely. But like now with I guess like with how set like speedrunning is, CAs, etc., like I don't know if they really can. But like they did with Nightmare, and like they did change TOA, even though it was like
Yeah, actually that's
little bit
one
after
not
like
really having too much of a Yama conversation. I would like to hear your thoughts as a big Nightmare doer, Satyr, on the Nightmare changes.
Oh, I'm really
Oh,
happy.
yeah.
I'm happy with them just removing one of the phases, and I'm happy about the teleport being guaranteed at 25 KC, and you can get it earlier. That's all great stuff. The biggest problem is the uniques are still just in a pretty bad spot, even though they dropped the fight's duration by like 20%. It's just like,
I have
Yeah.
a little bit of a differing opinion on the drop table,
sure.
where it's like I hate anything that is a big win or big loss drop table. I don't like it as a concept, especially something like that's fine for normal Nightmare where you can mass it and stuff like that. You don't want something like that to just print money and print drops. But P&M where it's like it is solely reliant upon your game ability, why is the normal drop table worth less than Zulrah? I think it should have a good, maybe not as good as Zulrah or Vorkath, especially now, normal drop table, but oh man, if you give me Bass after I just
You mean
spent
you
6,
don't like
7
24
minutes,
bass? Like what the hell?
that's just like a feels
No, it's just like,
bad,
it's
man.
so,
And I
it's
get it
so,
on something like a DT2 where that's
Where
beginning
it's
of
very
end game
feast and
type boss,
famine, like,
but where yeah, it's a little bit of feast or famine, but even then it's still like your average drop's not as bad. But you look at something like DT2 where the longest boss kill now is Whisper. And
yeah, and
that's
it's like
still in efficient gear, that's still at most a 3-minute kill. And that's if you're kinda sandbagging it. Like you're doing twice as long of a kill or longer for PNM even after the changes just to get some pretty trash loot. I think that's just like feels bad, man.
But where will
That
we get our Bass and Zammy brews into the game? Like, what do you mean?
you get enough Zammy brews from recliner krill now, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I would just love it if they were to throw blood shards into the Fasani's drop table.
I'm so for it. I really
I am for it too.
I haven't seen one good argument against, even if it's a more rare drop, putting blood shards on the nightmare and the top table. The argument of it's gonna tank prices. It's like, yeah.
I mean, there's still a pretty. I would
get
love to
that,
see the
and
numbers.
maybe
on
balance it out more of make that drop similar to other Slayer drops where, and I think this would combat botting problems a lot too with blood shards, of making it more rare if you're off task. I really like that idea of it. Maybe like a 1 in 5k if you're off task, and a 1 in, what is it, 1 in 1k now if you're
1
on
in-
task, right?
For
one in
blood shards?
2K?
No, there is no change.
No,
Yeah,
that's
there's
what
no
I'm saying.
honor
It's one in,
on
I
it's
think
1
it
in
would be
1,500. I
good.
would say on task it should be 5 times more common. So keep it 1 in 1,500. But then when you get a Vire task, it's a 1 in 250 now.
I'm saying if you add it to like the PNM and TOB table, make
Or
it
300,
more
I mean,
rare
yeah.
off task, and then make it more common on task. So you can't. I think that really does, like, if you make it 5x more rare when you're on or when you're off task.
No, I mean
I think that does a lot
that is the
for
case, but don't
combating
make it any
bots.
more rare than it already is. It's fucking obnoxious right now. It
Yeah.
genuinely takes like, I think it's 15
Whatever
hours. It's
happened
like
to
15
the,
fucking hours to pull one blood shard. And that's in like max gear.
Yeah, and then
Whatever
bingo will go
happened
through
to,
blood shard in a day.
Yeah.
whatever happened to them releasing the
There's like the jelly
big
boss
square
or whatever, right?
jelly? Yeah, the big square
Blood
jello
jelly.
boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I
it's just
didn't
we can
hate
have
that
all
idea.
these we can have all these other ideas because there's so many ways to go about it, but it's just like the simplest way is like just increase the drop rate. So like why the fuck literally like when Prif dropped, they had this enhanced teleport crystal seed. It was 1 in 1,000, which is already like damn, that's pretty fucking rare for pickpocketing these things that stun you like
For like a
seriously,
year.
it feels like 60% of the time. And then
That's also
and 1 in
a
1,000 is extreme. And then they said, hey, let's get blood shards 1 in 5,000. Like, who the fuck decided this? Because as soon as you decide that, now everybody in their mind is like, no, you can't touch the drop rate or else you'll plummet the price. You're not going to fucking
but
plummet the
also
price.
something with
Everyone just wants to use
enhanced,
blood
unless
shards.
you're using it as an Iron Man to break down to shards. That's like a you get it one time item, whereas blood shards are continuous use.
Yeah.
And I understand, like you want it to be a value spectrum of, all right, you are taking the blood fury somewhere and you want it to be like a weighed cost over using the rancor now, which at least now with the rancor it is like a value spectrum of
Significant,
like I
yeah.
don't feel like I'm completely throwing if I'm not using a blood fury over the rancor compared to, you know, a torm or a torture.
Torture. You mean vice
Yeah.
versa? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it actually
Like,
feels worth now a lot more places to bring Rancor, and I think that's good. That's healthy.
yeah, something I would be curious on the topic of like blood shards. Cuz I'm a little bit of a stats nerd. I would love to see like how many blood shards come into the game versus like, you know, get used and like, you know, essentially removed from the game. To see, I guess like, you know, a hypothetical like let's add it to Nightmare and like see those kinds of projections and stuff. Or if we added it to Nightmare and added it to Tob with like proposed drop rates,
Mhm.
like what that would look like, because I would genuinely be curious to see it. And I mean, I'm no economist or anything, and so
No,
I
and when
don't
blood
know.
shards were floating around like 7 mil, I felt like that was a pretty healthy place. So whatever balances the economy to them being around 7 mil, I felt like that was enough of a fully charged Blood Fury being 21 mil felt like you were still weighing the aspect of utilizing a Blood Fury, but it wasn't just like, oh yeah, no, like this is free to use. Like,
And the
it's
thing is, but the cheaper they get, like let's just say you were to give them to Taub and Fasanis, if they start going below 7 mil, everyone's going to start using them, which is going to make them go up again because everyone's going to be like, I'm just going to fucking use this all the time. So it's like there always will be that balancing. Like there is a certain price where people stop using it. It gets to fucking 50 mil. Nobody's going to fucking use that shit. It's just, So I feel like there is this sort of.
they were even sitting at 15 mil during that bingo, and I used 2 entirely charged because all the Serb I was doing, I was trying to go for longer trips. And I used 2 entirely fully charged Blood Furies, just like
and that was
mostly doing Serb. And I was like, this feels like such a waste of 90 mil, man.
And that was pre-Serb changes too. So like teleports, like, which I don't know why, like, it was ever untradeable, like teleport scrolls.
Yeah, can we briefly glaze? I'll say this. I'll ask this. I should say, Sater, what were your 3 favorite changes from the summer sweep? Also, maybe quick break right here. I kind of gotta pee.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'll keep that question in mind, and then let's go take a little breather.
Sweet.
We'll be back.
I'm back, and I also grabbed. Elisa just grabbed these from the store, and they are absolute en fuego. They are the Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar Cream Soda. So it's like Dr. Pepper with cream soda flavor.
Oh, dude, I love Dr. Pepper cream soda.
Dude, I didn't know Dr. Pepper cream soda existed until she brought home a case of it. It is, I think I like it better than regular cream soda. It's so fire.
Dude, Dr. Pepper is just gas. And then, like, they have all the, like, mixed flavors.
I mean, people who don't like Dr. Pepper just tell me you have a, like, weak palate, you know? Just tell me you're tasty and you like LaCroix because all of the flavors that rush to your mouth, are upsetting to your little adult tummy.
I guess so to answer your question about my favorite 3 of summer sweep up changes, I have it pulled up here. There's just so many to go into. I mean, overall, just a huge.
That's why I said favorite 3 instead of favorite. I feel like it's so hard to pick one.
Well, it is tough because I would just say straight up the TOA changes were great across the board. Yeah, does it negatively affect? We're not going to get as many purples. Yeah, but I feel like the balancing changes is good long term for the health of the game. And on top of that, I love the weaknesses that they've added to everything. When you do play a new account and you're seeing something that looks like it should be weak to fire or weak to water or something, and it's just not because they haven't implemented it, it's just like, okay, well, this fucking sucks. They went to town on it. So it's basically like every fucking monster has stuff.
Was one of the most shocking things when I found out that fire spells didn't do any additional damage to like metal or stuff that you would think would be weak to fire. I was like, wait, what's happening here? Granted, again, still very newbie at the time, but I was like, how does that thematically make sense? So big agree on that.
Yeah. And I think it's good for the twin flame too. It's so good for the twin flame.
Yeah.
I do like what they did with Nightmare and Nex. So they've made it so it's not like a full, like for Nex, for example, if you hit it when it's changing phases, you can still deal damage to it. You can't deal unlimited to it. So you can't like coordinate a fucking ZCB spec with like 8 of you or something. But at least it gives you a good threshold to damage it beyond it.
I haven't done it yet with the new changes, but
Me neither.
good lord, did it just feel bad when you were hit, like kind of just not paying attention to the HP of it, and you just toss your ZCB spec. Toss your ZCB spec because you just got 75 spec, or you hit a natty spec on. That very much felt bad. Actually, I would like to kind of, again, a little shifting topics.
Let me just finish up right here.
Obviously, Toa.
obviously the elemental changes, and then really it's just like Nex and Nightmare. And also I got to give a shout out to them buffing the Dragon Hunter wand. I have one in my bank, and on top of it
Yes.
now getting a 40% magic damage and 75% magic accuracy bonus against dragons, it's also an ancient magic caster with a 10% base damage thing. So like you pulling a Dragon Hunter wand now on an earlier game account
No.
is a fucking
huge.
game
Feels similar.
changer.
Now it feels similar to the balancing of the other dragon weakness weapons. Like I feel like
Yeah.
when it came out, I spooned one. It was we were doing like a homies mass event at Huey like a week after it came out, and I spooned like an 8 KC Dragon Hunter one, and I'm like, cool. This is an insta sell because I know it's going down. Like, there's no value to this thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad that they didn't just leave it as a completely valueless item. I think that is a very good change.
Yeah.
And stacking the elemental weaknesses. But more so on the next front, one of my disappointments with this last league, love this last league. I've always been a big leagues guy. Doing Serb as the Echo Boss instead of doing
Instead of
Echo,
Nex,
or instead of
yeah.
Nex as the Echo Boss, because I would love to see them do like a Fasani's Nex. I think that would be fantastic because I mean the soloable version of Nex is just like, all right, you're doing it just to do it. There's no efficiency.
Wait. I
To
thought
it,
you were into MMOs. What happened to this?
Okay.
Now we want the Fasani's next.
But it's a challenge. It's the challenge aspect of it, though, too. Like, yes, it still is, should be more efficient or kind of similar to Nightmare. But like, look at Nightmare. It's like, how often are you doing, like group Nightmare to get drops compared to PNM? Because PNM is just such a well-designed boss. I would love to see it done that way of a challenging fight where if you play perfectly, like you can easily solo this, but it is a very punishing boss because I feel like it is on that same plane as Nightmare of rarity of drops, and like gear progression stuff. That could be like a good late game soloable boss if they made like a PNM aspect of it.
I was gonna suggest kind of the opposite, but because it was funny because you mentioned the Satyr, but like Fasani's really good interaction, right? I wish there was a way to have almost like a hard mode Nightmare where it's just Fasani's but scaled for a team, and then next
Oh yeah.
make a version where it's like a little bit more difficult but more in kind of the same vein as like Fasani's, where it's like like if you play perfect, or it like rewards good gameplay, right? Like, you don't take a lot of damage and you're not like just brew simulator and everything. Because something I would like to see if I was
gameplay
king for
feels
the day.
good to be rewarded for.
Yeah, if I was king for the day and could like choose any like piece of content for Jagex to focus on, I think a group repeatable boss or group repeatable bosses are like an area that could be explored a little bit more, I guess.
That's a
'Cause,
really
like,
good point. We don't
yeah,
really it's rate if you're looking at end game content of like group repeatable bosses, it's all rates.
yeah, exactly. And like, something on the level of like, even if it's like Desert Treasure 2 and just like, or like in that vein, I guess. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna hate me saying this, but like, I think Maiden as like a group repeatable boss or something kind of similar, where you do
You were
have
way
those,
more cooking with like DT2 level.
where you do have those group like defined roles and everything,
Mhm.
right? But like, not necessarily Maiden specifically, right? But like in that similar vein, or like Nilo's, where it's like both of those have a defined role and everything. And then like, Nilo at the end I think is great because like you still have to tribrid and everything. Man, there's some like efficiency stuff you can do to it, like the more switches you do, the faster it goes. For like all
It's a
styles,
shame
but
this is so late in the cast because I feel like this is just such a fire
Yeah, I think
idea for the game. Like
yeah,
group
group repeatable bosses,
until you
please.
said that, I was like, wait a minute. Like literally, imagine like an end game Huey.
Yeah, like
where
I
it's just
think
like everybody pull up if you're good. Like, pull
yeah,
up or
like
you
I think for group repeatable bosses, the ones that come to mind are Normal Nightmare, Nex, Huey. For like I guess you could say God Wars, but like, you know, nowadays like gear's so good, everybody for the most part just solos or like does like small team stuff. But like that's like all I think of, at least like right off the cuff. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing. But
I do wonder if there's any like actual hang up that people would have of just removing Normal Nightmare and just making it so that little upstairs cauldron where you enter Fasani's would just be moved to the middle. So like that thing just gets eliminated, and now just the default place in the middle is Fasani's, and you could just do it in like a 4-man. Like you could do like a 4-man Fasani's or something, and just
I
go
would
in there.
love
and,
that.
and so then there's none of that weirdness of like you have to do Normal Nightmare.
I know
Normal
I said
Nightmare's
nobody
horrible.
does
Yeah.
Normal Nightmare, but we during this last bingo, we were doing like some 5-man Nightmare, just like with the homies. It was fun. I was like,
No,
oh,
it wasn't.
This is
It's
it was
not fun.
no, Shep, did we have
I think
fun?
How much
So,
alcohol did you have? That's the real question, because that's not
None.
fun.
I was
Okay.
completely being the captain, had to lead the ship. No drunk driving from the leading the ship position.
I'll defend Cincy, but I'll add a
I
thing.
feel like Sater is just having like
the fun had there was from like us doing it and like the
Yeah.
people and like our interactions outside of the game. The actual like game mechanics, it's like you have the same 2 specials that, you know, I think it's random on the first one. I don't even know if it's random on the first one, but each phase, you know,
for some
like
reason having such a hard time with like making sure somebody was the dedicated tank of like, okay, wait,
my
you don't
God,
have your
yeah.
Verticon right now. Why is it hitting everybody else?
yeah, like but yeah, like I think Fasani's is such a good boss, and it would be really, really cool to see that in like a group aspect or something similar. Like, you know, if Jagex doesn't want to like go and remove Normal Nightmare. But I think as a
Yeah.
boss, like Normal Nightmare kinda cheeks. But Fasani's is so good.
I can't
like-
see them backtracking it though.
Yeah.
Of like, all right, we're just gonna. This is a pretty long-standing piece of content. We're gonna completely remove it because like clunky content does have its place in the game. Like people are saying,
Barely.
like, oh,
That place sucks.
Corp needs updates. See, I would have a similar approach.
Oh
with
yeah,
Corp,
Corp
though.
is a
like
group
that would be
boss.
another
Kind of. If you're
But
not
if they
nice.
were to
of
fully
content
revamp
where-
Corp, then there would be a lot more reason to just get rid of old Corp. I'm not saying these are different pieces of content, but like Normal Nightmare and Fasani's Nightmare, it's like Normal Nightmare is just, it's actually just a headache. It's genuinely a headache going in there, and there's no climax to the fight. It's just do the same here in the
and chip
And
damage
then boss
feels bad.
kinda
Chip
dies.
damage feels
Yeah.
bad everywhere. Like it really does.
It's just,
but,
and the drop rates are just abysmal, just horrible. It's just, you
I
know
wouldn't-
you're going in there to not see anything. Like you know you're not going to see
Yeah.
anything. You're just
Yep.
doing it.
You're
to fuck
going
around.
to do combat achievements, or you're in a bingo.
Well, I mean,
like,
that's
kind of
the same thing with that's the only time I do group Nightmare has been in bingos. But Corp, see, I don't have the same take as like Nightmare of like, okay, we need like a soloable PNM version of this because there is a soloable version of it, and I think it has its clunky place in the game of like that's
I
just a
think
classic piece of content. But to Shep's point, I think it would be really fun of like add more mechanics to that boss, make it a hard mode group boss, and make Irons able to participate in the group boss.
That's what I was gonna say. Was just
why
like,
is Corp one of the only bosses in the game that functions like that? Like
I
that
think it's just because it's
forever-
old.
Yeah, but I feel like it wouldn't be that hard of an
It would be-
update for them to
yeah.
make. Of like, what if only one person's getting the drop? I guess like boosting, but change it to like a regular
nightmare or like a next drop table of where everybody gets the drop and it's contribution based. I don't see what game breaking aspect that has to it, especially if you balance the drop table with it.
Yeah.
That's a piece of content that the drop table has never made sense to me in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corp's interesting because if you start introducing so any Iron Man can do it, then it eliminates the identity of it, where the identity of Corp for Iron Man is getting the BGS, getting the, you know, whatever else. I guess nowadays just like Elder Maul and Fang, it's definitely changed. It's but there was always hard
Rallos,
like gear.
Rallos was so nice.
Yeah, there's like gear requirements to be able to really start efficiently grinding this. And if you get rid of that, then it's just like every level 80 combat Iron Man with a Fang, go drop in here and pull your Ellies, and everyone's just gonna be massing it. And it completely eliminates the identity of it, because you know there would just be worlds going on 24/7 where you're just camping there, not even bringing anything. You don't need food, you don't need any real gear, and you're all getting contribution points, and then eventually everyone's just pulling these.
We'll make it contribution based. Like,
I mean, it would be contribution based, but even then, it removes that identity of like, people do Corp when you're super high level, and then it kind of adds that prestige to the shields. Now, again, this is just an argument. Like, the game is subjective at the end of the day.
The Corp shields also just kind of feel forgotten about. Almost.
Yeah. Dude, why doesn't Ellie not have the spectral effect? I just thought about that. Like, why can't I use an Ellie at serve instead of a spectral? Like, let me flex. Come on.
Isn't that like having people want it? So I continued. Actually, CincyBearcat is the account I continued to play RS3 on, and then when Old School came out, I thought I would be able to transfer like at least my stats and stuff over, and like the day it came out, I went and like, oh yeah, no, play RS3. Saw I was on Tutorial Island, immediately logged out. Like when I came back to the game in 2020, I was on Tutorial Island, but if I go talk to Hans, I have like 3,000 days since I've arrived in Old School.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, at that point, like I was still pretty much a noob on RS3. Like I still played past EOC, but I was still fairly newbie. To not really know endgame stuff, but I know they had the Divine Spirit Shield, and I feel like I used to see a lot of conversations about the Divine Spirit Shield and wanting to bring it into Old School, but I just don't know what place that has.
Yeah.
But if you do something like
even
a
remember
hard
what it
mode
does.
Corp
I
or
want
something
it.
like that, maybe
It's
add
it's
that
100. It's 100% chance to negate 30% damage, or maybe 100% chance to negate 25% damage, something like that. And then it comes at the cost of, when you are hit, you drain prayer.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It's like the Ellie only has a 70% chance of reducing 25% of your damage. So there still is a chance you can get maxed hit by things.
Divine essentially rolls how you think defense would roll, of like the higher your defense is.
Yeah, it's like that flat armor effect that they're having.
Yes. Well, then maybe thematically that makes a little bit more sense. You know,
thing is, it's a cool shield and it looks badass.
Like
I wanted it to pass back when they were pulling it.
We don't have a lot of green stuff in the game. You know, some nice, good green fashion scape.
I'm wearing my Rangers right now.
We got Pegasions. Yeah, I'm wearing my Pegasions at Mole right now. What do you mean?
All right, name 3 other items. Name 3 other items. Go on.
Fuck. Yep. No, there's no.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What's the Guthix book called?
Xeric's Talisman.
Yeah, there's the whole like Guthix
green D-hide that has green in the name.
Ooh, Zerishian robes, you know.
Okay, buddy. All right.
Yeah, it's the game is definitely transforming, and we're getting to the point where we just want things to be more streamlined. I think it's important to still, again, my opinion, to keep identities of things, but really just try to improve the gameplay of it, because Corp has its problem where it's just kind of fucking obnoxious getting, I don't know, just there's some annoyances to corp, and it's a fucking long ass boss. I mean, on Sae Bae, I killed it like 4,600 times, and most of those kills were when it was like 5 kills an hour, and it's just it was just like agony.
You've done so many long grinds on Sae Bae. Do you miss playing Sae Bae at all?
Not really. I mean, I just enjoy this account that I'm playing right now a lot more. Like, I'm so focused in on it, and I'm just enjoying myself. And it was easy for me to take a break from Sae Bae because I think for so long I'd always been like, I just want all progress on one account. But it just gets to the point where the game is getting devalued so massively in so many regards that it's like, I don't care to just endlessly progress one account if I'm not having maximum enjoyment with it. And I feel like on Sae Bae, just started getting to the point where like the goalpost is always moving forward. There's no end to the game. It doesn't matter how far I get on it because ultimately I'll never finish the game. And even that idea of finishing the game doesn't even sound that great because then what do I do then? Just restart another account. I'm not claiming I'd ever finish the game, but it's just...
No, you had a lot of long grinds that you.
But it's not even necessarily the long grinds. It's just the idea of like, I'm not maximally having fun right now, and so how can I change that up? So I'm not like identifying with my character in the game. I'm just focusing on myself as a human, being like, how can I enjoy old school RuneScape? And the way I thought I'd enjoy myself is making a new Iron Man and just having a new adventure, and like, I'm fucking loving it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a healthy perspective because I know I fall into that kind of like trap too, where I'm like so hyper fixated on like, I have to go do this goal. Like that's me with like GM right now. But you get so like hyper fixated and then it's just kind of like, am I actually having fun? Like,
no, that really is
on grinds that people weren't having fun with. I doubt you remember this, but this I think is the only mean thing you've ever said to me, Sater.
Oh, no.
I spooned Duke Pet at probably like 250 KC.
Oh, fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
I think it's the only. I went to your stream. I was like, Sater, I'm so sorry. That was like my first message I typed of the day, and you immediately went, "You got Duke Pet, didn't you?" Because you were doing Duke at the time. You're like, "You got Duke Pet, didn't you?"
God
and
damn it.
you're like, do I even want to hear the KC? And I was like, 260 or something like that.
Fuck.
You're like, Cincy, I hope you actually have a terrible week.
No, the thing is like, it's
I was like, oh, that's so deserved.
It really is all memes because nobody controls their luck. But man, I mean, going 8,000 plus dry on Sae Bae still don't have the Duke Pet. It's like,
yeah, that's
and now look at it. Like the Duke has been heavily devalued. I mean, it's just like all those hours that I put in just cut. Which, to be fair, I haven't actually done Duke since all these changes, but I'm sure they're good changes. But again, it's just another one of those reasons why am I going to invest so much time into these grinds that, you know? And everybody said
could possibly be easier.
People, but it's like, and people on Reddit will be like, well, it doesn't. Why do you care so much if things get easier? It's like, the whole reason a lot of us enjoy playing this game is to kind of flex our achievements and to like show that we've put in time into this game. And so this is not a total like, oh, I'm quitting the game over that. But it's just another one of those reasons why it was easier for me to let go of Sae Bae and just understand the game is going to keep getting easier. The game is going to get more streamlined. The achievements you achieved aren't going to they don't mean anything ultimately. And but they're going to mean
nowadays,
less and less and less in the game and to people. And so it's just like, I just want to enjoy myself and it's whatever. And I don't have to be bothered as much. I mean, even with clues, I know Cincy, you wanted to ask about like stackable clues. Another big thing where I invested thousands of hours into clues and it just gets unpulled, massively devalued, which again, people enjoyed that new system. We have stackable now with the juggling. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to be like annoyed by it because I have chosen the higher path, you know, and just enjoy myself instead of hyper focusing on just like everything that I don't like about the game's direction.
Yeah. See, that's we can transition to the clue part of it.
I got one thing real quick.
Yeah, go on, Shep.
Go ahead.
But yeah, on the devaluing thing, like that's kind of something that for like GM, like as much as I love having 2-minute thralls without having GM, it's like, you know, really like what do I get for like grinding GM? You know, like I guess I get the Zuck Helm, and like that's a flex
For a
on its
month
own. But
until they come out with new CAs and you have to
yeah,
regrind it. Yeah.
yeah, but like at the end of the day, like what I guess like tangible difference does it make to the account? I mean, I'm now kind of
Oh,
interested in
especially
like
and
fight caves
I
and
would
inferno
love to see
speeds, but
them add. You don't have to have your Book of the
a
Dead,
book.
but
Yeah, but it's like, you know, because I was talking to some of my friends that are GMs right now already, and it's just kind of like, you know, what's the point of going for it now? And
well, I
really,
think
it's
it ties
just the
back
flex. Like,
to. I don't even think it's just a flex. I think it's like what we talked about earlier of like what both of our mindsets are on PVM of like we're challenging ourselves to get better.
Yeah, that's
Like
exactly.
going
I mean,
on.
look at Radiant Oathplate. There is absolutely no advantage to it
yeah,
other
and
than
same
just
with like
challenging
Blorva
See
yourself
that
and
one
too.
flexing.
just that, like I looked at Blorva and I started my Blorva grind because I was doing the Vardorvis or Perfect Vardorvis CA and I got an Awakened Orb and somebody in my chat was like, you gotta send an Awaken attempt. And I did it and had way more fun than I thought. And I had so much fun doing Blorva. But I think Shep and I both cheesed the
Yeah, I cheesed Glyphic.
yeah,
I'll say
Glyphic.
it. Yeah.
And that wasn't even like even cheesing it wasn't fun. And I look at people doing Radiant and they're just not having fun with that grind. It looks way more just tedious than fun. Like,
Yeah, like
but
with
you and I both kind of have that same mindset. Again, what's the point of getting GM? Well, we want to challenge ourselves. Like, we want to
yeah.
get better at the game. And GM has, like, going for GM has made me like measurably better at a lot of content because I've had to go and challenge myself in different ways.
Oh
But
my god, the gauntlet time. I got so fucking
I
lucky.
still have both those GM times. I'm not looking
Oh,
forward. I've been
that's
putting it off so much because I just don't want to do the resets for it. I like Gauntlet. Like I'm the rare main account that I'm like I'm having fun here. And it's because I didn't go 700 to 2000 KC to have an enhanced that drastically improves my account. But
yeah.
I'm just there because I enjoy it, and like that was one of the first pieces of content when I started streaming that kind of pushed me towards like, okay, this is a challenging piece of content. I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna learn it guideless. That's been a lot of my thing too of like doing GM is like if I can do it guideless, I'm gonna do it guideless. I'll never do a quest guideless, but like PVM stuff, I feel like doing PVM guideless and trying to just feel out how to do it the right way is what helps you become better at that piece of content. If you can feel the natural flow and like rhythm of that boss and that piece of the game, it's going to transition more to other pieces of the game.
Yeah, and that's something that I like is so I mostly saw this with Inferno and Colo, but there's a lot of skills that translate, particularly like destacking and like corner trapping and everything. And I hope to see more of like that kind of thing. And kind of like I guess scurrious to PNM. There's a lot of similarities in there. Granted, like PNM's like a lot faster. Um, for like I guess like the projectiles, like praying the projectiles, the falling things. For like I guess I don't know what the actual thing's called, but the little shadow hands that come out of the ground. But I like seeing those kinds of crossovers and being like, okay, this skill that I picked up here is like transferred over here. And I think going with like Blood Torva, the only two that I really feel like really translate really well. Well, Whisperer is like the obvious one because it's like the pretty much the same fight, just don't fuck up and everything hurts you really bad. And if you make a mistake, it's for the most part like a telly angle. Um, and like Vard translates pretty well, but not like 100%. And I like those kinds of crossovers. I don't know. I didn't mean to ramble about that, but
I
yeah.
love it. Let's talk about Some stackable clues though. Have you guys
Yeah.
Yes.
tried it at all? Are you guys a fan of that?
I haven't. So I have for the longest time been an avid clue hater. I've always been in the camp that I'm like, man, clues are cringe as shit. Like, I don't like them as a distraction, diversion, like, not fun. And that came from me playing the game as a kid and doing like hard clues without any kind of guide. Like, I'm actually using the sextant to go find like where the clue, like, where I dig for the clue, spend 2 hours doing a hard clue just for 100K. It's just like that perma hatred of clues from childhood. But I think it being stackable and me not feeling the pressure to go do my masters and stuff when I get them, I'm gonna actually start enjoying clues. I would like to learn how to do masters efficiently. Because, dude, Detective Dog, easily one of the
Yeah,
best pets in the
Detective
game.
Dog
Far,
is so
far
cool.
away one of the best pets in the game. And a similar piece of content that I just spooned the pet on was the BA pet at 50 Gambles. Almost the reverse of I grew up loving BA. Like, that was one of my favorite things to do with my friends was play BA growing up. But I feel like a lot of people have hatred of BA because it's just an archaic piece of content. But
Hey, that's the second best raid in the video game,
dude,
man. Like,
it's
come on
beautiful.
now.
I love BA so much. I would love to
hate
get
BA.
into speed running
Horrible.
BA.
Yeah.
See, yeah, a lot of people hate it,
I
and
feel like it's
I'm
one or
in
the
the rare
other.
camp that loves it. Yeah, it is very polarizing. Of like, nope, still don't have my elite CAs done there because I can't be asked to do
Mm.
BA, and I'm not gonna pay for it. But I'm in the
Yeah,
camp of like, yo, you guys want to send BA? Let's send BA. I'm so
yeah.
down.
Like on
But stackable clues, I think I'm actually gonna start enjoying clues because I don't feel the pressure to go do them immediately. It's like I can sit and do master clues for a good period of time. Like that's how I want to do clues is like I just want to focus on them. And I've never been part of the leave an absolute flustercluck of clues on the ground at the crafting bank. Like that just gives me stress and anxiety that I have no business dealing with. So
yeah, on like the clue thing, like I I enjoy them and everything, but it's something that like I've never been someone to I guess kind of like pause and be like, okay, let me drop everything and go do it. Like I'll just let it sit in the bank and like just do it whenever I feel like it, which most of the time like I do it within the day, but like I don't know. A lot of my friends that are like avid clue enjoyers enjoy it or enjoy the changes, so you know, I'm like I think it's a good change, I guess. Like all the people that like I know that I talk to regularly like it, so but I'm also not like not like a super avid clue enjoyer. Um to where it's like I drop everything and go do it. Like if I'm seshing Tob, I'm not gonna leave Tob to go do a clue or anything. And I have
well, yeah,
the
because it's.
repeat
I
things
mean,
drop,
clues are like minus 20 mil to you. You know, to. Oh yeah,
with
right.
all the size I have on my log. Sorry.
So let's I want to change gears again, and then I
Sure.
have two topics, which is one, I want to talk to you guys just about sailing, your guys' impressions on it so far, if you guys
Ooh.
are excited about it. And then also just kind of your sort of content creation journeys and where you're at now. So let's start with sailing first, and I'll start with you, Shep. Like, what are your overall thoughts on sailing? Are you team hater, team enjoyer? What do you think?
So this is kind of gonna be a political answer, but like I'm not very like keen on like sailing, I guess. Like I'm not very like, oh my god, sailing's gonna be the best thing in the game. And but I'm also not like, oh my god, sailing's gonna ruin the game. But that's coming from somebody who isn't maxed. I'm not particularly like super into skilling and everything. I mean, like I'm gonna hit a 2200. Hopefully, when this releases, I'll be 2200 total in GM by then. But we'll see. Um, but yeah, like I've never really been like too avid, or like super like into skilling and everything. I know, with content releases currently, I'm pretty confident in Jagex that it will be good, and I look forward to like the expansion of like the world and everything. But overall, I think I'm just very like kind of like lukewarm about it. Like I'm not like overly hype or anything, but I'm also not like overly disappointed. I didn't play this sailing beta. I played the one that they had at RuneFest, which as far as I know, like was the same one on the first beta world.
Yeah, that was the sailing alpha.
I think it's the exact same. Like
it was.
Yeah, so that's really like the limit to my experience, but like it seems like there's a lot of people that don't like it, and I do think like it might be worth like revisiting. I guess like from like the mod team, like it might be it might be worthwhile to revisit it and kind of repull it and be like, hey, are we sure we want to do this as a skill and everything? Because there's a lot of passionate voices. There's a lot of loud voices on Twitter and everything. But you know, like I would be willing to give it a genuine try and everything when it releases and everything. I might go do the beta, or is the beta still open? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
No,
Yeah, I might go try it.
I
Like,
think
I
it's
don't know.
closed. I did it.
Oh,
I
did it
did
just
it day
close?
one. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
did
it's.
it?
I think it's
Shit.
closed.
Did
But
it just close? I swear, I thought it was open still. Let me look.
Yeah, I've been so locked
I
in
don't
for.
see the world for it.
Oh
no.
yeah, until July 3rd.
Yeah.
It was just yesterday. Fuck.
Damn. Yeah, I've been so like locked into GM that I've just like haven't really done much outside of that.
So what about you, Cincy? Thoughts on sailing?
I am in the rare camp of extremely excited about sailing. I love new content in this game. And I'm very excited for it. I'm also I do have a lot of strong opinions about the way that they went about new skills and the way that everybody has responded to it. Because I think a key piece of that initial blog that they released was they are not opposed to adding new skills in the future. But with how much of a fit a lot of people have thrown, I think they're going to be a lot more hesitant towards releasing a lot new skills. And that makes me sad because I think any one of the new skills, whatever got picked, I was very excited for. Taming probably the least so, but sailing and shamanism, I was like, these are both going to be great ads to see in the game. I would love to see both of them. I would love for my ideal world is sailing goes phenomenally. We're out pillaging the high seas, doing piracy, all that kind of stuff. And they keep like updating it, making it better. And then they're like, wow, this went great. Let's start working on shamanism.
You
That
know,
is
actually,
my ideal world.
speaking
But
of
I
that,
love anything like piracy related. So that's
I
why
think
I'm very excited about it.
I think something relevant to today specifically, if they don't add this, shit update. If they do add it, goated update. Let me pour tea in the harbor. You know what I mean? I'm just
God damn it.
I don't think Jagex is gonna let that one slide.
Yeah, I don't think
No,
so
but
either.
I've played I played the alpha at RuneFest. I played the alpha and the beta. I think there's still work to be done, but my counterpoint to anybody saying like it's clunky, it's this, it's that, it's like, okay, they're adding an entirely new movement perspective to the game with like sailing your boat around. Like they're adding so much new stuff to the game. And with how well they've done with updates, I'll say over the last 3 years, I have a lot of confidence that they are going to knock this out of the park. And that if there are aspects that suck about it, that they're going to try to actively improve it. Like all of the improvements they've been making to skilling across the board, like if there is something that is below bar, like I have full confidence that they are going to try and continuously make it better. Like they're clearly very invested. I think it's frustrating to see people say scrap sailing because that's just such not
a realistic look at it as a skill. You're not providing any kind of useful feedback with that. Where it's like scrap. If they said scrap this specific aspect of sailing, then I'd be like, you know what, that's a good valid point. But they're just like scrap it as a whole. You guys have spent so much money on and time on this as a company. Just throw that out the window. Stupid. I think that's such a stupid, like, tired take. And if they took that approach to any other piece of like PVM content, you'd be like, what? Why would we scrap an entire piece of content? Why would we do that? That's such a waste of time. But I'm definitely in a rare vocal camp that is very pro sailing. I feel like a lot of the vocal minority, just very similarly to a lot of PVM stuff, is unfortunately what we see on Reddit and Twitter. But I mean, you look at like the last poll that came out about sailing, it's like it was a majority of people wanted this, and like it's like it's coming. That's my other point, is like it is going to come to the game. Instead of just throwing a fit about stuff, like the best thing that you could do is provide helpful feedback and like good inputs to stuff. Like if you don't like the way that you currently see stuff, and I don't think this just applies to sailing, then provide what you would like to see, and not just, I don't want to see this in the game. Say,
Yeah,
I want
and
to see this aspect of it not in the game. Maybe tweak it to go this way. Like a mutually beneficial way of looking at it, where everybody's going to be happier in the end. Of like, if there are pieces that you hate, tell why you hate it and provide a solution. I'm never a proponent of complaining without providing a solution. That's like a
yeah.
realistic solution to stuff.
And I think something too is like, well, this is both a pro and a con, right? Like people are very, very passionate about the game like as a whole, and I love that. But there's a point where like people are kind of like too shitty about it, you know? Like, there's I'm
Man,
not gonna
people
name
treat
any
the
names or
JMods
anything,
like
but
shit, man.
yeah, there are people that treat the J mods so fucking bad. And after like I haven't met all of them, but I've met a couple
Every
of them from
JMod
like
that we met had a heart of fucking gold.
yeah,
Like they want the
super
best for
nice
this
people and
game. So
everything.
I
Like
hate people seeing like treating them shitty.
yeah, there's a way to provide constructive feedback, like since he was saying, and I think that's good. And then on Jagex's side, like I think it's definitely worth like listen to the player base. That's a big thing that brings people to the game. Is like it's a community driven. I don't want to say project because like it is like a good game, but it's very like community oriented and community driven as a game. And that's an aspect that like I don't want to see lost by some of these like some of the integrity changes. I'm like, you know, this could have been pulled, or like this should have been pulled. And I think like for the most part, I like just trying to think off the cuff. Like I don't think of anything right off the rip where it's like this should have been pulled and it didn't. But I remember seeing shit on Twitter where like people were like, this should have been pulled, and it's like, you know, I think it's really important to keep that so that way like we can hopefully prevent a like EOC kind of event. I don't think sailing is gonna be. I saw somebody compare like sailing release to EOC, and I'm like, I
Like
think
I
that's
said, I
like
played RS3 through
yeah,
EOC. There's unless they do shit like literally, I think the more comparable effect, like doomer effect that it could have on the game is like remembering what summoning did to the game. Like
yeah,
that could be more comparable of like this is gonna be old school summoning. And even then, like I like summoning, it wasn't entirely terrible. It had a notable effect on the game, but EOC was just such a drastic change for the entirety of the game that there's no way that anything that they're doing with sailing would be able to have that scale of effect on it.
yeah. I was a shamanism voter, too, just as a side, I guess. But
I was a
you know,
taming voter because I wanted to put Shep on a leash.
Tame that man.
Instant 99, you know.
Yeah.
So let's touch on your guys' like content creation just journeys, I guess, pretty briefly, and what your guys' like future of that looks like. Because I'm gonna have all your guys' links down in the description, so for those listening, go check them out as well. But yeah, how is that? I'll start with you, Shep, and then we'll go to Cincy. So just, I guess,
Okay,
brief
yeah.
overview of kind of how you got into content creation, and then what you're looking at right now, especially with all these, you moving to Texas and whatnot.
Yeah. So, I guess like to preface, I started playing RuneScape again in like 2020, like COVID era. And like it was like a random Bodhi video like showed up, and I was like, oh yeah, like I made this account in 2016. Let me like go and do it. And I started watching like people on Twitch. I was a big like Tasty viewer, and that's how like Cincy and I met originally. Um, but then like over the course of years, I did a bingo, and I was like streaming in Discord all the time and like just talking to my team, my friends on the bingo team, and then they were like, dude, you should do this on Twitch. And then talking to Max, like he helped me a lot when it comes to like content creation and everything. And then now I started streaming like 2 years ago, and I love it so much. Like it's kind of what I like look forward to a lot in the day, because it's fun to like hang out with everybody and yap. And because honestly, like I feel like RuneScape can almost be like a just chatting, but like for ADHD. Like you have something going on in the background, and you're just shooting the shit with everyone. And I love that so much. And then I remember about 2 years ago, Cincy had also just started. It was a couple months after I started streaming, and
I think you
we were
started
both.
streaming in like August. I started streaming in November.
Yeah, it was something like that. It wasn't too far apart. But I remember Cincy did his first charity stream, and I'd always wanted to do one for specifically the American Heart Association, because the kind of like short thing with that is like my dad passed away about 5 years ago from a heart attack. And so I kind of wanted to do something like in memory of my dad, and like to honor my dad. And so I like just sent it. I had like 300 followers or something. Like I was really, really small. Not saying I'm like, big and famous or anything right now. Cause I, still have like, it's very humbling, like all the love and everything that people show. But that first charity stream was kind of like, still to this day, like my favorite stream ever. We raised, it was $2,537.
Damn.
For the American Heart Association. Yeah, 24-hour stream, first ever one. Super small fry in like the content creator space. And then this year I did a 4-day event. Jason the Ween stopped by, and I'm in a video of his, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he dropped $2,000 on that one, and we totaled 4,000, or sorry, not 4,000.
I'll say this: I had no
$6,005.
idea who he was. No idea.
I
he
had
was
no
in
idea.
Face. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you, like, did you know who he was and like how large of a content creator he was? Because I had no idea until he was chatting,
Yeah.
and I like went and clicked on his stream, and I was like, oh, holy shit!
I did not know either.
I thought that was sick though. I thought that was really sick that he dropped in
Yeah.
and did that. Like, did people that have that larger communities have no obligation to do stuff
Yeah,
like that?
and
So I
like
thought that was
even
really cool.
still, like to this date, like there's people that like come in and they're like, "Hey, I saw the Jason the Ween video. Just wanted to like come by and say hi and everything." And I'm like, "Oh, like it's really really cool." So it's like I guess like the influence of like charity streams and everything, even like just Twitch as a whole, like it's really really cool to see. The RuneScape community has always been like very supportive of me with charity streams, and like even just like not even charity streams, but just like me, I feel like And like that's something that like I love, and I could never see myself being in any other like streaming community. I want to branch into YouTube, which like right now is kind of just like I'm working on a video here and there. Um, but you know, like I'm also like teaching myself how to like edit videos. I don't have an editor, so I'm kind of like, you know, doing all of this myself, and I have a very like high standard of like what I want to put out that has like I guess like the essentially has your name attached to it. But yeah, I guess I'll rip the band-aid off now, but after the bingo, Prison Joe called me and invited me to join Based, and I accepted, and then now everything is finalized, and tomorrow we should be sharing the news, and I'm super excited about it, and I'm super stoked because you know, now I feel like with a lot of the Base team, like I was already like kind of friends with them, but now to like kind of be a part of uh like I guess like my streamer role models. It's really really cool, and my biggest regret with like streaming is like I wish I started sooner, and I wish I got into it sooner, but I think that's like kind of for the most part everybody um that does it. And I look forward to content creation cuz like with me going to school, I'll hopefully have more time than uh I did, like, you know, being in the military and everything, and um, all of that. And so when I moved to Texas, I'm really, really hoping to A, stream more, and B, like, I want to start doing like YouTube stuff. And I think content creation is a really cool, like, way to express yourself and everything. Like, it's cool to have like really cool guides and stuff. I don't know if I'm like good enough at the game to be like, yeah, this is how you do like all the cool things. Like at I guess like a super high level. I like to think I'm a decent teacher, but I don't think that's where I'm gonna go like content
I
creation.
think you could do a really
wise.
good, like, being average at the game to being good at the game guide. Not gonna lie.
That's really nice, dude. Actually, I'm gonna jot that down. You know, if you see
You
that
know,
on
that's
YouTube.
free promo, free promo, free promo.
Yeah, but right now I exclusively stream on Twitch, and that is the only form of like content creation I do right now. But yeah,
Nice.
that's kind of my whole journey and everything.
And Cincy, what about you?
Pretty similar actually. It's kind of funny. So started about again 2 months after Shep streaming, but I had been on Twitch as just like a chatter and very involved in like a lot of people's communities for probably 3 years before that. So I started off from November of 2023. It was like really just wanting to get out and like have fun because I had the same experience as Shep. Like I would constantly be streaming what I was doing in Discord and like just chatting and shooting the shit with people. And having a lot of friends that were like, you should 100% stream. And I always had like a hesitancy to do it. And I've never regretted it since. It's always been a just for fun thing for me. I think I would say one of my biggest regrets is I cannot give content creation more time because there's so many things that I want to do with content creation that just having a full-time job and being in the military, like I just don't have the time for it because it's one of my favorite things to do is easily my favorite hobby right now, like clicking the go live and just trying to create a fun environment for other people has been one of my best RuneScape experiences. The amount of people that I've met and like all of the stuff that I've done have been just immeasurably invaluable. Word, what's the right word? Not measurable in value. Whatever the right word is, that's a big word for Elmo today.
But yeah, also just got invited to join base like 2 months ago, so I feel like Shep and I are on a similar path in that sense. But streaming has been really good for, like I said, pushing me to get better at the game because I want to provide like a better entertainment value to people. But again, similarly to Shep, doing the charity streams has been one of my favorite parts of content creation. I'm not like I said, I just do this for fun, so I'm never like a big like, oh, I'll do this for this many subs on stream. I never really sell out for stuff until I do the charity streams, and then it's like all bets are
I'll be
off.
the
Like
I'll be the
the
biggest
first
sellout during a charity
yeah,
stream.
no, and because most of my charity stuff that I do is really tied to what this community has done for me. Like I have a lot of chronic mental health issues, and especially during deployment, like a lot of my RuneScape friends got me through like some severe depressive episodes, just like venting to them and chatting to them on RuneScape, and on Discord. So all of my charity streams have been towards like mental health and like veterans health and stuff like that. So the impact of content creation, being able to provide something back to a community I love so much, and a community that also reciprocates that in how willing they are to support those kinds of charity streams, has just been easily the best part about content creation. My goals moving forward are kind of just really get back into doing it regularly. I feel like I've been a 1 or 2 stream a week Andy for the last like 6 months, and I know I can provide more. But just with everything going on with the military and the government right now, it's like I do the full-time job, and then get home some days, and I feel like if I cannot provide the highest level of energy into streaming and creating content that I can, then I don't want to give people a discounted product essentially. Um, but I had a lot of people pushing me to go live. Like from the second I went live, I always had like people in my chat, like people streaming. So when people come in and ask me like, "Oh, how do I get into streaming?" I'm like, "I'm kind of the wrong person to ask unless you've been around the RuneScape community for like 3 years, because I had formed so many friendships with people that I just had so many friends from mostly like the based community in the first place, like other chatters and stuff coming in and like interacting with me. So I'm like, I've never been like a one viewer Andy that like I don't know how to build from nothing. Like that would be my suggestion, is like just truly invest and find yourself as part of this community. If you want to become a community content creator, like this community is so good at embracing people that want to be a genuine part of the community. I can't say enough good things about that being such a massive positive about who we are as a community. But there's so many things I want to. I would love to get into YouTube. I wish I had the time to do YouTube, because talking to Ron Plays Games has always been like one of my favorite like guilty pleasure streamers. I'm so sad that he stopped streaming, but I think doing like game show style content creation with RuneScape is like such a fun like involvement for everybody aspect to the game, that I would love to get into doing something like that. Maybe with getting out of the military I'll have more time, but right now it's my goals are kind of just like continuing doing what I'm doing, like providing a positive space for people to just hang out and have fun, like trying to get better at the game as well. So
And that's
Oh yeah.
something too that I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
no, go on.
Something I'm curious about is like the difference between, you know, being a part-time content creator and like a full-time content creator. Like, do you feel like stressed or anything? Like you feel a
Yes.
bunch of pressure of like, oh my
Yes,
God, I have to like,
1,000%. I like hate the part-time label, and
wish that because like so many people have asked me like if I've ever considered full-time content creation. It's like I would love to, but at the end of the day, I have bills that have to be paid. Like
Yeah.
I've worked very hard in my professional career to be set up very well at the age of 30 to have like a good professional career. And I also love my professional career. Like that's the other part of it is like I love streaming, but even with the difficulties of my job and like the stresses of my job, I love what I do at the end of the day. That's like I would
Yeah.
want to entirely walk away from that, but I know for a fact I would love full-time content creation.
You know, you guys almost seem like a package deal. It's kind of interesting how that kind of works. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
we're
guys are
basically married
flattered by
at this
that.
point.
Yeah. But
Don't tell Elisa.
yeah. She'll be upset by that. I do appreciate you guys' time this morning. It was fun chatting, and
Likewise.
honestly, I wish
Likewise,
you guys the best. I'm gonna have your links down in the description, so those wanting to watch you guys over on Twitch, and also if there's any other links you want provided, maybe even like I could link the Based After Dark, maybe your episode, Cincy, if people want more.
Yep.
And so I'll just throw all those down in the description, so go check them out. And I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having us.